Hey everybody, welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. I'm your host, Paul. Once again, welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. I'm your host, Paul. I'm very excited to be bringing you episode 1. It's going to be, the show's all about what we're going to cover. The shortest episode that I will be doing, which is just basically an introduction about me. So a little bit about me. I'm 27 years old and currently a third-year student at Assumption University of Thailand, studying in the Communication Arts faculty, and my major is Digital Media Communication. Basically what I'm learning, film and audio production, really cool because it's something that I'm very passionate about. Media is something that I had such a great interest in since I was a kid. So this podcast has been, they are friends of mine on Facebook. Melissa I've known since middle school, and Subha I met 4 years ago when I was at Allen Hancock Community College in Santa Maria, California. Particularly radio broadcasting is something that I have had a passion for. I would always be doing Facebook Live if I was hiking, if I was seeing maybe a historical site. And she once messaged me, just the same with Melissa, why don't you start a vlog? It would be great. Subha used to follow all of my Facebook Live. And I said, okay, I will think about it. And a couple of semesters ago, I had a class called Creativity and Innovation. And in this class page of content that we're going to be putting on, it could be Facebook, it could be YouTube, it could be Instagram, it could be anything. So initially, I started Calitraveler as a Facebook blog. I was just going to write about things and post pictures. But I wasn't getting the reaction that I was hoping with my Facebook blog. So I had a YouTube page, and I've had it since 2009. And all I used it for was just watching videos and saving videos on playlists. And I thought to myself, dude, why don't you revamp your YouTube channel? Get yourself out there. And people might actually pay attention to your content. I began making vlogs, which are primarily out of photos that I had taken from vacations and just elsewhere I've been. Because this year I had a lot of plans to do vlogs, but unfortunately COVID-19 pandemic put an end to those plans. However, I had a bunch of content on my phone. So I started making the content on my phone into a vlog. And so far I've done vlogs about my trip to Mexico, about a North Korean restaurant in Bangkok, plenty of more to come. And then I was told again, why don't you create a podcast? One of my professors at the university said to me, why don't you create a podcast? You want to go into radio broadcasting for a career, so why not do something that is within your career? You know what? He's right. So I ended up thinking about it, and now I've decided to bring Calitraveler to you, the listeners. Now, the cool part about this podcast is I'm going to talk, nothing is off limits, and I'm going to go beyond the spectrum of what my YouTube vlogs cover. So my YouTube vlogs cover travel, whereas people come to me and say, oh, would you ever talk about music? Which, yes, I would be happy to talk about music. In fact, I would be happy to have people on the podcast playing music for the listen. And so I've told these people, yes, we can plan an episode sometime together, which would be great. Because other than travel, people want to see more to life. They want to see music, they want to hear stories. It's a little bit about my path to where I'm at today. So my interest in radio broadcasting began when I was a kid. I guess you could say maybe like a little nerd or something like that, or whatever you want to call it. But I had such a passion for radio when I was a kid. My dad, having a friend who worked for a radio station, and he was on the morning show, and he told my father, I'll put him on the air for like an hour. It was really exciting, but unfortunately it never got to happen. The radio show was canceled because the station had received new management and they laid off all staff, which was, huge disappointment. But after that, I started seeing stuff about radio on TV, different shows from around the US, and they were talking to celebrities, and it was just something that I had such an interest in. I'm like, wow, that'd be really cool to do something like that, because I'm very social. Like, I am a complete extrovert. Began my interest. I remember one time, I was with my father and my little sister. We were at a Walgreens, which for those of you in Thailand and elsewhere in Asia don't know what Walgreens is. It's basically what Boots and Watson's. And they have like everything. They have medicines, they have cosmetics, and then they have like a small, and they had this pocket-sized AM/FM shortwave radio. And I really liked it because it said I could listen to radio from around the world. I asked my father if he could get it for me. And he says, I'll get it for you another time. Okay, no problem. So as soon as he got home, he said, I have a surprise for you. He ended up getting me this radio when I wasn't looking. It was so cool. Put it on, and then at nighttime, I got to pick up like shortwave broadcasts, like from France, from China, from Thailand. It was really cool to hear radio from other places in the world. Once again, piqued my interest even more. But I do have a lot of influences. The DJs that I'm influenced by are from Sacramento, California, and a couple of them are from San Francisco. I heard the shows, I said to myself, wow, well, if that could be me one day. So it re-piqued my interest. For a few years, I was studying criminal justice, and I just wasn't finding myself happy. And after that, I decided to pursue journalism. Then I look at journalism and I think, is this right for me? And then that's when I went into digital media communication and said, yes. So I did it, and it's one of the greatest decisions that I've ever made in my life. Pattaya, Tra Province, I've been to Bang Saen, Chonburi Province, I've been to Ayutthaya, Chiang Rai, I've been to Hua Hin, of course everywhere around. And then listening to music, also playing music. When I was a kid, I used to play the violin. It was like back in 4th grade, but I stopped after that. Because in 5th grade, I got moved up to advanced orchestra, but I stopped because I couldn't read sheet music, which is sad but true. And I also play the drums, which I have to thank a friend of mine, his name is Charlie, teaching me how to play the drums. So a lot of what I've learned is self-taught, but he really got me started. Him and I were hanging out 8 years ago. He had bought a new drum. That love of drumming took off. Favorite drummers, I have to give credit to Neil Peart from Rush, Abe Cunningham from Deftones, Travis Barker, Blink-182, Alex Van Halen from Van Halen, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. And when I'm not playing music or listening to music, you can usually catch me watching sport. And these people really influenced me wanting to continue drumming. I love football, or I should say soccer, for all my friends back home in the States. And when it comes to soccer teams, big fan of Chelsea FC in the English Premier League. MLS, Major League Soccer, San Jose Quakes. Absolutely love hockey. Big fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And my favorite player from the Leafs, unfortunately he was traded, was Tyler Bozak. Very passionate about is like animals and taking care of animals. Cats. 18 years old, but best cat in the world. Only cat that I know of that will actually sit on command. It's such a cool thing. But definitely traveling is one of my biggest passions, and I hope to be able to see more. This year I was planning to visit Singapore, Philippines, and wintertime I was going to go to Harbin in northern China and go see the Ice Wonderland, which is absolutely phenomenal. The Ice Wonderland, it's literally a bunch of sculptures and a bunch of buildings constructed out of ice, and then they put like LED lights under them, and so it comes to life at night. It's absolutely amazing. Plenty of videos of it on YouTube. I recommend checking it out. But since we can't go and travel this year, we can talk about our past travels. We can talk about future travel plans, which gets to the bottom of everything. Talking about what we're going to talk about on this show. We've got travel, we've got everyday life, news, weather. Of course, music is definitely a big one as well. Music is definitely something that will be covered, and hopefully I'll be able to get more people to come play live for you guys. I know that coming home after a long day of studying, I definitely want to relax and listen to some music, which, and usually when I do, I'll listen to like lo-fi, I'll listen to like chill electronic, or I might even listen to a little bit of soft rock beyond me, because some of my travel influencers, I usually listen to just heavy metal. I listen to thrash metal, and on YouTube would include Trubinsky. Very informative. Also recommend, if you have Instagram, check out a guy named Daniel Herzberg. He is from Australia, and his goal is to be the first Australian to visit every country in the world, which is incredible. And another traveler that I really like, his name is Wonder Reds. He's also on Instagram. And he's from Spain. He's the first Spaniard to have seen every country in the world. Absolutely incredible. And when it comes to my own personal vlogs and my own personal influences, the biggest person that I'd have to say had such an enormous influence on me was my grandfather. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2008. My grandfather had a lot of influence on me, and he's one of the reasons why I just keep going and doing what I do in life and not give up. He never did, and I never will either. Stay tuned next week for episode 2 of my podcast, and I really hope that you subscribe to the Calitraveler podcast show for weekly updates. Podcast can be heard weekly on my YouTube channel, so subscribe to Calitraveler93, as well as liking my Facebook page, Calitraveler93, and the podcast will be available on Spotify.